And good morning. I'm here with Francheska Martinez. Good morning. How's it going this morning?
Great.
Awesome. And she's been kind enough to join me today. I've seen her kind of all over social media and, putting me to shame as far as, making sure I got to get my workouts and stuff in. So it's always good to have some motivation, but just wanted a chance to sit down and talk to her and kind of share her story. So Francesca, why don't you kind of give us a little bit about like your origin story where, so I know you are here in Austin now, but like where are you from? Kind of what got you into fitness? All those kind of great things.
So I'm from Miami, Florida originally, and I always grew up as an active person. I was a dancer growing up, and I like to say that I kind of like tested out and taste tested a lot of sports as a kid. So I did everything from like karate to soccer, and then as I got older, I was like really into flag football. So I was always active, and then it got to the point where my diet wasn't balancing out my activity. So in college, I was doing all the freshman 15 things. So from alcohol to fried Oreos at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I was putting on a lot of weight. And that kind of was like the first thing that inspired me to really learn more about fitness, like from a empirical, like textbook perspective. So then that's where it all started because I was always active. So I was like, all right, so I'm doing something wrong. If I'm moving around and my body composition's off, I gotta dive deeper into this.
Cool. Yeah, and I mean, flag football. It's a unusual sport for a lot of girls or women to kind of really cling on to from that standpoint. It's less popular, I should say that. It's not necessarily unusual, but less popular. And you also at that point then have a cap kind of as how far you can go. Like there are, I think just this year was like the first time that a female had played in a Division 1 NCAA men's football game, but her only position was as a kicker, right? So she,
Mhm.
very very limited from that standpoint, and so that kind of gives you a ceiling there where you're going to have to move into different stuff. And I feel like college is definitely a place where a lot of us suddenly realize that we can't just keep eating boxes of cereal and eating snacks and stuff our whole life.
It's so good though.
It is delicious from that standpoint. So did you from a college standpoint, did you end up enjoy it enough that you started to actually like majored in something like that, or was it just a real big
Yeah.
passion? Or
Yeah, so it's funny because I wanted to get a personal trainer, and one of my friends was like, "Oh, you shouldn't get a personal trainer. Most of them are creepy, so you should just go study it yourself." And I was like, "I mean, I don't, I thought it was a like a generalization that all personal trainers
yeah.
were creepy, but it was definitely great advice because it inspired me to go and take some official classes. And then that's where I just started doing electives. And then I realized, like, wow, there's a whole world. And then from my first elective, I decided to take on exercise sports science as a minor. So it was definitely a great journey.
Nice. What were
Mhm.
you thinking, or what were you majoring in prior to kind of making that shift?
I'm actually a major in sociology, so it's really funny
Okay.
because it's completely different, not even close.
I
So
mean,
studying sociology.
they are different, but there is still kind of some of that mindset stuff that does equate a little bit from that standpoint when you can understand uh, the generalizations that people have and how they get into certain habits and different things from that standpoint. So there's again a little bit of crossover from that standpoint.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the other areas that crosses over really well is like getting into people's mindsets, like learning a little bit more about the social psychology and how
Yeah,
it translates
psychology
to
for sure.
helping people reach their goals. But yeah, it was really funny because I had no intention of adding on another like minor or anything. And it turned out to be a really great experience because I enjoyed every bit of it and I learned so much. And I used some of the stuff that I still learned today. So it's definitely whoever told me to go and do it, definitely kudos to you.
Nice, very nice. Well, and then at the same point in time, if they're like all personal trainers are creepy, you gotta kind of be like, well, why would I want to be a personal trainer then? I don't want to be creepy. Like I just want to enjoy fitness, and from that standpoint. So,
Help people
uh,
get gains.
yeah, exactly. So from college, what was kind of your next step in your journey?
So from college, I went and it's funny because I come from like a very like working class family and fortunately I didn't like just have like a savings that I could land on to just be like, oh, let me just take off some time and figure out what I want to do with my life. So as literally 2 weeks after I graduated, I already had a position before I graduated, and they're like, yeah, we're only going to give you like a 2 week summer. So I had like a 2 week break between college and work. And then at least it was something, right? So then I started a job at a law firm that I got connected through one of my uncles. And then I was a billing specialist. So it was just like I love numbers, I love statistics. So I
Mhm.
was great at the job. It was like fun, but I was sitting all day and it just I didn't feel fulfilled. I guess I'm always the type of person that I want to feel like I'm like being of service and like trying to make the world better. And I'm like, how am I making the world better by just billing people all day? So at that point in my life, I was a little bit like under the weather too. I wasn't like feeling my best self. Yeah, so I decided like I needed to do a big switcheroo. And then that's when I started doing more soul searching. And funny enough, my family was trying to get me to go down the path of becoming a firefighter, but I have a lot of like pre-existing back issues. So I always thought maybe that's not the most wise decision to do. If I know I already have back issues, maybe I shouldn't go into a career where I need to carry like gear and potentially like a human and hoses, you know? So I was really resistant against that. And I decided, you know, just push aside whatever my family was saying and just go with what I wanted. So that's where I led into personal training and fitness.
Nice. So did you make like a clean break and leave the law firm just to start doing the personal training, or was it kind of a slow transition, like in your off time or weekends and those kind of things?
It's funny because I think it was kind of both because unintentionally I was like the fitness guru at my job. I was the person that everybody would go to for like nutrition tips. And I actually had like a couple of my coworkers that I'd say they were like my guinea pigs for a little bit. So I was doing that on my off time. I remember specifically too, I had a coworker who was struggling with his weight and he had like a hernia. So he needed like a lot of more like different type of exercises. Like you can't just go to a CrossFit class if you have a hernia, you know, you have to like be wise, you got to take your time, learn more about technique and form. So I always had a lot of people to like work on as I was at that law firm. But yeah, I did a clean break. Literally, I think it was 1 month. I just decided I'm gonna give myself 30 days. You're gonna figure it out. And then that was it. I had a clean break and then I moved back home. Mostly because my family was going through some stuff at the time. My aunt had like a really rough pregnancy and I wanted to be there to support her. And then I went back and then she was actually my first client too. My aunt was my first client.
Nice.
Hmm.
Cool. So from there, did you start to just kind of get clients through networking, your sphere of influence and stuff that way? Did you know there's a lot of personal trainers that initially go to a gym and start kind of at a more corporate level, work and get clients and stuff that way?
Yeah, so I did both. At first, it's like the most stereotypical thing when you start off, like as a fitness trainer, it was like my aunt and one of my friends from high school's mom and like somebody else's cousin. So it was always people that I knew at first. And then I got a job interning at a gym. And it actually turned out to be like the perfect fit because when I got there, they're like, yeah, we usually just have people intern and we kind of feel out if they're a good fit for us. And then we kind of go from there. And then like 2 weeks in, they're like, we love you. You're awesome. We were definitely like, as far as like philosophy goes, it was a perfect match.
Yeah.
So they have like a great gym philosophy. They're all about longevity and wellness and like really improving your biomechanics before you do anything crazy. But yeah, so I did that. And then I worked at that gym for about a year. And then after I worked at that gym, I continued to just do more of my own stuff. So I went and branched off and did like the whole Francheska Fit thing.
Yeah. And so yeah, so now you have your own brand, Francesca Fit. You got the website, Francheska Martinez. Pop that up there for people, and a pretty big following on Instagram, especially. Is that kind of your main platform for your community? Is Instagram?
Definitely.
Definitely. See, I know, as I saw, you had a large following there, and actually saw one of your lives a couple weeks ago, which is how we kind of initially connected as well too.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool, and it's always nice for me being here in Austin, living here for the last over 15 years now. Always interesting to connect with people that are local because obviously fitness is something you can do to a degree in a lot of different places. You can coach people from a lot of different parts of the country. You obviously can't be as hands-on as you can be in person, although
Mhm.
the last year we haven't been able to be as hands-on in person as we generally would be anyway. And so it gives you the opportunity to help people all over the place, but it's always nice to kind of highlight someone that's uh, doing it while they're here in Austin.
Yeah. Yeah, the online thing has been a challenge, to say the least.
Well, especially if you're used to uh, being able to do, having either one-on-one or small classes and stuff in person, but it's probably been good in the fact that it's then forced you to look at that side of your business as well too, from that standpoint, because more and more everything's just going digital, social media and all those kind of things. So it's probably been helpful for you that way.
Yeah, absolutely, no turning back.
So what brought you to Austin then?
Funny enough, so going back to, that gym that I worked at for a little bit, the person that introduced me to that gym was my uncle, because my uncle is, like, really into, like, the cutting edge fitness stuff, he always wants to know, like, what's the newest, best thing in the fitness world, what he can add to make his clients better. So he's really into the Onnit training system. So Onnit's like a local gym here in Austin, for anybody that doesn't know, but they not only do they have supplements, but they also have, like, a really, really badass education system. So he was one of the first trainers in that education system, and that's why I got connected to that gym to begin with, because they're like really cutting edge, like I said. So long story short, I'd went to a bar one night because my uncle was asking me what's the best place to go and show some of the Onnit trainers where to just hang out or whatnot. So long story short, I met up with my uncle. My boyfriend's right in front of me, so the story is gonna go full circle. He's making smiley faces at me. But my uncle was like, "Hey, let's go to the bars. I'm gonna introduce you to some Onnit trainers, fitness stuff." I'm like, all about it. Let's do fitness stuff and hang out. So coincidentally, my boyfriend now, he is one of the Onnit kettlebell specialists. So he like travels around the country teaching people how to use kettlebells. And we met at the bar and we hit it off. And he's like, "You're a trainer?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're a trainer too. Cool." He's like, "How old are you?" And I'm like, "Guess." And he guessed that I was 21 at the time, and I was like, "No, I'm a little bit older." And he's like, "Perfect." I was like, "Man, this conversation is going really weird." But long story short, that's how I moved to Austin. I met my boyfriend in Miami, who's a fitness trainer, and we both kicked it off because we love all things fitness and all things health and wellness. So here we are.
He's a smart man. You always guess younger than you think someone is because you never want to be wrong the other way. So you're always like, oh, you look 25, you're 21. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was super weird. I'm like, man, why does this guy always ask me so many questions? But it worked out well. I guess he was intrigued.
There you go. So what do you tend to focus on with your clients stuff? Because right, there's obviously a fitness, for someone that's not in it, kind of like when you weren't into the fitness nutrition stuff in college, you just thought it was this little thing. Then you dive into it and you realize there's all of these additional components to it, right? So there's everything
Absolutely.
from CrossFit to on it's a big brand, Peloton obviously has grown even more with the pandemic and stuff. And so there's all these different things. Do you have a primary focus?
Yeah, so I totally want a Peloton. Just putting in that note. I keep looking at them and I'm like, "Oh, don't buy one." But essentially, I kind of I'm like super I like to say I have a lot of tools in my toolbox. So I do all things from like animal flow, which is like primal movement type practice. I also like doing more recovery type movements. So for some people that might be um especially for like athletes, a lot of athletes are always doing high intensity stuff. I would introduce like the opposite side of the fitness realm. So having them like work in their body, work on their tissue health, work on their joint articulation. So kind of whatever my client wants to specialize on, I can help them. But essentially my biggest focuses are animal flow, joint health, so durability. And we like to call it just like recovery movement for anybody that doesn't know what durability is. And the other thing I'd say is more like corrective exercise. So really focusing on alignment, really focusing on proper form, making sure that we're properly nailing the mechanics. So functional fitness from like a very like textbook, like microscope type of perspective.
Sure. And I
And
feel
I can
like though.
also
Oh, go ahead.
and I can also help people get like swole and get muscles. So all like the stereotypical fitness things too.
or the other way. I'm sure there's, again, the guys always want to get swole, and the ladies always want to get thinner. In
Mhm.
most cases,
Trim.
right? Again,
It's
generalization, but in most
changing
cases,
though.
yes.
I think women are starting to realize that if they get swole, they actually end up getting to their ideal body type. Because I
Yeah.
think some people want to maintain their shape, but just change their body comp, trade some fat for muscle.
It's a lot more challenging to get swole or put a lot of muscle on than most people realize, and then especially from a female perspective, not having the testosterone that men do, it's even harder. And so, uh,
Absolutely.
I always would kind of joke when I was at the gym that you'd see all the women over on the cardio machines and a few of the exercise stuff, and you'd see all the guys either on the bench press or the squats, and I'm like, they really need to just switch spots and work
Really?
on the other thing from that standpoint, right? You'd see again, right? You'd see a guy go in, and every day you're like, he's doing bench again today. Like, how many days a week do you need to do bench? Or again, you'd see a woman that was doing cardio and then would go stretch and then would go do like one set of curls or something like that. And it's like, again, you really do need to switch. And again, it's hard. We're all limited on time. So I know, again, for me, the foam rolling and trying to do
Mhm.
some yoga for some flexibility and those kind of things to fit into the workouts is challenging. You're like, oh, I really want to lift. I like lifting. I'm good at lifting. And it's like, I'm not good. I don't have flexibility, but that's why you have to work on it from
And I
that
think
standpoint.
we always tend to like go towards what's easier for us or like what we're better at. So you gotta counter your intuition. If something feels like, oh, I'm gonna go lift today, maybe you should go run.
Yeah, exactly. So, what are kind of your plans for 2021?
Ooh, so right now we're kind of just feeling out the pandemic, honestly, kind of testing out like what can we and can we not do. I haven't been doing many workshops because usually we travel and we teach workshops around the states. And 2020, before the pandemic, we were planning on going international, and of course that didn't happen. But in 2021, we're hoping that we can make that international dream come true. I don't want to jinx it because you never know in these times that we're in, but we're supposed to be going to Costa Rica for our first retreat ever. So it's going to be a 7-day long retreat. My boyfriend and I are going to be doing it together. And then we're going to have daily movement seminars, and we're going to be a 15-minute walk from the beach. It's going to be perfect. And then we're hoping to have another event in Spain in September, but we just got to wait, not
Sure, yeah.
jinx it.
Everything's kind of wait and see. So what would an event like that kind of entail? Is it going, like, do you guys have a hotel or like an all exclusive place kind of rented out, or what would that look like?
So in Spain, I'm not 100% sure yet. I think it might be like we'll probably have a hotel for everybody to be at, but I think we want to make it like an expedition. So it'll be in Mallorca, Spain. So we'll kind of like hop around the island and go to different spots and like have a beach workout. Of course, you can't not have a beach workout if you're in Mallorca. But it's probably going to be most likely like a full day of maybe like a 5-hour workshop, and then we'll do something before and after and go eat together. And I was thinking perhaps we can do it maybe 4 days, or we haven't decided the length yet, but if we only do it 2 days, we're thinking like shove the whole workshop in one day, and then the next day is kind of like relaxing and hanging out. hmm so
Nice.
yeah, kind of just depends if we like disperse the workshop in a couple of days or if we just jam it in, because usually we jam it in. So we're gonna see.
Nice. And I say, if you're going to be doing those things, there's Mallorca is not the worst place in the world to be spending your time doing that by any
Yeah,
stretch of the imagination.
some of our family members that are really into fitness, they wanted to come to the Costa Rica, but weren't able to make it. But once we told them it was Mallorca, they're already booking their
They're
flights.
like, yeah, they're like, Costa Rica. We live in Miami, so Costa Rica, no big deal. But America, okay, we're in for that one for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be epic.
If you were meeting someone who was just kind of starting their fitness journey this year, right? So 2021, we're already in February, but right, you have a lot of New Year's resolutions revolve around getting in better shape, working out, and stuff. Do you have any tips to help people with motivation or kind of keeping that consistency?
Ooh. So I think when it comes to me and my clients and anybody that I resonate with, it's like all about starting with a good foundation. So I know a lot of times when we think of like go-to tips, we're like, all right, we're gonna work out 5 out of 7 days, and it has to be an hour every day, and we think like big goals. And I like to think like really small, digestible goals, goals that you can master every day and feel good about making those goals happen. So I think the most important thing is like rest. Like we need rest. We have to make sure like our sleep is optimized. If we're not having good sleep and we're not getting enough sleep, no matter how much we're gonna work out or how much we're gonna eat good, our body's not gonna be like at our best level of functioning. Because essentially, like if we ramp up our nervous system, we also have to calm it down. So when you sleep is when you recover and you heal your body. So sleep is like the number one thing for me. You have to get at least 7 to 9 hours, depending on who you are. Some people do well on 6, but optimizing your sleep is so important. And I know a lot of us have bad sleep and we just think that's life, you know? And then the next thing is hydration. So sleep, make sure you're drinking a lot of water. Start the morning with a cup of water, or even if you just sip on it. And then the other tip I have is just trying to cut out some of the processed foods. I know it's a simple one, but we all have processed food hiding somewhere in our lives, mostly, especially if you're somebody that really wants to start fresh and go into 2021 with better intentions. It's sometimes it's like juices in our houses that are just hanging and hiding that we drink all the time, or maybe it could be like a snack that you love, but really thinking about having whole foods in your diet, like whole foods that are from the earth, not something that's already processed and like put into a wrapper. You want to make sure that it has a few ingredients. If it has less than 5 ingredients, it's probably better for you. So starting with the super simple thing, making sure, or super simple things, making sure your sleep is optimized, you're getting water throughout the whole day, and then really focusing on having less processed foods and more whole foods, less sugar, maybe less wheat for some of us. It doesn't matter for everybody, but there's just some things that I think most Americans eat too much wheat. I think we can all say that. And probably just a lot of things. We need
I
more
was gonna say
vegetables.
we eat too much. Yeah, I would say we eat too much of a lot of things from that standpoint, and especially the processed foods, like you say, it can be challenging when you think, okay, I'm not going to eat processed foods for a day or a week, and suddenly you realize how much stuff that we eat is processed. So it's
Absolutely.
definitely a good thing from that standpoint. Cool. So if people wanted to kind of reach out, if they had questions kind of about our talk or just about fitness in general, what is the best way for them to kind of get in touch?
So you can always message me on Instagram at Francheska Fit. It's a little difficult sometimes because messages do get lost. So if you want to make sure that I see it 150%, you can just shoot me an email. So the email is franceskafitness@gmail.com.
Cool.
But
And that,
Instagram's pretty good.
yeah, and you can also get the email from
You
your
don't have that
website.
app here. You can install it
Yes.
using the app.
Siri's going crazy.
Very nice. Cool. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and chat and tell us a little bit about your story. It's again fun to see your videos and get some motivation to get off the couch and get some work in and stuff that way too. So keep up the good work. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, guys. You guys have a great day.